Senator Lee, Senator Whitehouse.
Thanks very much. Ms. Slater, you can relax. My questions are for Mr. Blanche. Mr. Blanche, we have seen at DOJ secret OLC opinions so shoddy that when they came to light, they had to be withdrawn by the Department of Justice. As the Deputy Attorney General, will you countenance secret OLC opinions so shoddy that when they come to light, they have to be withdrawn?
I'm aware of I believe what you're speaking about, and OLC is extraordinarily powerful. They have a very important role in our government.
Given that I have short time, I'd appreciate it if you could answer the question as quickly as possible. Will you countenance secret OLC opinions so shoddy that they then have to be withdrawn?
I can't comment on what I will possibly do. I do not think OLC opinions should be shoddy, full stop.
And it's a pretty good sign that they were when the department has to withdraw them as soon as they come to light, right?
I can't speak to
Let me move on. We've also seen at DOJ efforts to fire U.S. attorneys for refusing to do political prosecutions, a scandal that ultimately led to the resignation of Attorney General Gonzalez. Will you countenance efforts to fire or discipline U.S. attorneys for refusing to do political prosecutions?
Political prosecutions should never happen, period.
Period. There is a contacts policy that has existed for decades between the White House and the Department of Justice, limiting who can talk to each other about ongoing cases, limiting it to a very few, very senior officials on both sides. Will you maintain and enforce that policy?
I'm aware of the policy. I have not discussed it with Attorney General Bondi. I'm aware of the reason why that policy exists and the benefits of it, and I will discuss it with General Bondi, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't continue.
Recently, at the Environment and Natural Resources Division, multiple section chiefs were reassigned away from environmental enforcement to sanctuary cities stuff. And evidently, other lawyers in that division have been put on leave without explanation. Now, can you think of a reason why somebody who is expert in environmental law adds value to a sanctuary cities legal effort?
I know nothing about what happened or why it happened, that I'm not going to speculate as to why that happened, if it happened. I just don't know anything about it. So
but in the legal questions running around sanctuary cities and whether the government can commandeer municipal efforts, the federal government can commandeer municipal efforts, does the Clean Air Act, in your view, figure into that in any way? The Clean Water Act, does that figure in any way? Endangered Species Act, does that figure in any way?
I mean, I don't know. I can't answer that question without understanding what they're doing.
It's hard to think of a way. Can we agree on that?
I'm not going to commit or agree on something I literally know nothing about the reasoning about why it happened.
Here's why I'm asking you. The fossil fuel industry has, on record, contributed about $100 million to Trump's political campaign in the last election. That's just what we know. The dark money side is nothing but question marks. The number could be 5 times that, as far as we know. And because, to me at least, there's no plausible reason for adding environmental law experts to a sanctuary cities workforce, what it really looks like is that what's being done here is that the environmental cops are being cleaned out so that polluters have way more ability to push the Department of Justice and to get away with pollution. I would like to hear from you what you think the role of the Department of Justice is in pursuing environmental crimes, and whether you will see to it that there is a continuing robust effort to do that.
I will commit to following the law to the extent that there's polluters who are violating the law, of course they should be investigated.
Well, that's fine in theory, but when the people who know this stuff best, when the division that does this work has effectively been decapitated, and the remaining legal workforce has, to some degree, it's not clear yet because we can't get straight answers, been put on leave, what it looks like is that the doors have been opened at the Department of Justice for big polluters to be able to come through and pollute without consequence because the cops who stand on that beat have all been moved away. So I would urge you to keep an eye on that. I can promise you that I will be keeping an eye on that. The last thing I have to say, this is, you represented President Trump. You have a lot of obligations to him, a lawyer. You have your experience with that. So I'm not going to ask you to respond to this. You almost certainly disagree. But the narrative that has developed around here that the reason that President Trump was prosecuted is because of a massive fraud and corruption effort in the FBI and the Department of Justice is not the only, and certainly in my view, not the most plausible explanation. The other possibility why Trump was charged with crimes is because he committed crimes. And in fact, he's been convicted of committing crimes in every case that was allowed to go to judgment, as best I can keep track. So before this narrative of corruption, weaponization gets completely out of control, I do want to just make the point that there is another possible explanation. And the other possible explanation is that the guy committed the crimes.
Well, I do very much disagree with that, Senator.
As I expected you would as his lawyer, and I respect that.
Not just as his
My time
lawyer.
is up.
Ms. Slater, let me give you a chance to do a little bit of talking.